What's up guys, Duke here, and we're taking a look at the new patch, Force of Nature, patch 3.14, also called the Pi patch, which includes the release of Terra. As usual, the patch notes review is going to be focused on balance changes. Obviously, we're going to take a look at the new god first, and then quick look at the cards, but mostly balance. In that regard, we're looking at Terra first. We're looking at the default card, which I think is pretty cool. And now we're going into the abilities first. So, Terra's passive is called Standing Stones. Basically what it does is two of her abilities place stones, and as long as those are standing, or if they get destroyed, you get a passive. The passive remains for 3 seconds after they get destroyed. And she is knock-up immune, and her basic attacks will slow enemies. Very strong counters to certain guards like a Willish. Then we have ability 1, Force of Nature. Force of Nature is a dash, kinda same speed and stuff as Hercules dash, I think. The special thing about this is if she dashes through one of her stones that she places with other abilities, they get some kind of special effect, and she can dash one more time within the next 3 seconds. Now for the more complex abilities. Crushing Earth. Crushing Earth is a very unique ability. She places 2 walls at the sides of an enemy, so if my head was the enemy, then I would be in between, and then she crushes it. And this is in 2 steps. So the first, you put down the stone walls. Enemies with between them are slowed, and you activate it again to crush it. If you crush it, then the enemy in between gets stunned. But you can also dash through them, and then you apparently can't crush. Not 100% sure, but apparently you can't crush them. So if you dash through one of them, then it shatters and deals damage to enemies in front of it in a cone, in a very large cone. She can actually dash through both as well and do a larger cone damage that way. She's obviously going to get the passive, or keep the passive, and you can stun if you don't dash through them. Third ability, Monolith. It's just a single stone in the middle of a large area. This area is going to heal nearby guards, and if she crushes it, it basically changes the effect because the Monolith is gone. I think it doesn't longer heal then, as far as I understand, because it's the Monolith that heals. And instead, the enemies in the radius will be rooted, and it will damage for 5 seconds in that area. The ground will be damaging. So basically a very good zoning tool where you can heal up your allies. If an enemy steps in, you just deal damage to him. And then we have the ultimate, which I think is the most interesting ability in the kit. It's Terra's Blessing, and it's an AoE buff, which buffs, a global buff that buffs every ally on the map. What do they get? They get extra movement speed, they get reduced mana cost, I think actually free mana, so no mana cost at all. They get a cooldown reduction, which doesn't overcap, but still nice, especially early on. And if any of them takes damage 4 times, they get healed. Basically, they get 4 stones flying around them, and if all those 4 stones get destroyed, which happens with every hit or every tick of damage, then they get healed. Meaning, if somebody is on low health and he gets hit 2 times and dies, then he's not going to get healed. But if you actually make it through 4 hits, then you get healed. And dots and stuff make it proc faster, basically. So that's Terra. I can't speak too much about the actual balance of her yet, because we don't have any numbers. I think the kit sounds very interesting. It's very unique, and it's a lot more complex than a lot of kits we've seen. So I like that very much. I think she will be decent in solo. I think she will be very good paired with a Hou Yi, because she can bounce between the Monolith, and I think she can do support. She could probably even do jungle. We'll see about that. Depends on the numbers, really, but very interesting overall. We have the alternative card, which is very different, as she has only blue hair instead of 3 different colors, and she's got Hulk skin. And then we have some more new cards. We have Chang'e, Enchanted. Looks like a Disney princess. Legit looks like a Disney princess. We got the voice pack here as well.
Being a princess isn't really about looking beautiful and wearing a crown. It is about who you are on the inside.
Right. Then we have Jing Wei, Pool Party Jing Wei, which is this. Very cool animations on the abilities once again. She can shoot water balloons that bounce off the wall and stuff like that. I really like that.
This summer is gonna be hot.
And then we have the tier 2 for Osiris, Lord of Silence. Not my fave. I don't like the helmet, but some people like it. He has this glowing abs. Maybe girls dig that. Who knows? Then we have achievements for Isis, achievements for Serket, achievements for Tyr. If anyone is interested in them, check them out in the link below. I know most of you aren't, so I'm just gonna go over them quickly. Then we have the Summer of Smite. We have well, obviously the Jing Wei skin, we have the Floaticon Ward, and we have the F. Announcer pack, which I really like. So we have some changes here in Miscellaneous. Usually I'm gonna just skip over that, but we actually have some interesting changes. The party system interface has changed, which is nice. It's a lot more clear now, a lot more structured. Music theme previews, assault lobby timer is better for trading now. Global emotes, blah blah, whatever. Then we have the Summer of Smite loading frame animation, which is now actually working. And we have some voice pack fixes for Vulcan. We have the fix for the Briar Queen Artemis arm, which was way too skinny, which looks more... I don't want to say more humane now, because it's actually made out of wood, but you know, you get the idea. Then we have a bug fix where New World Challenger and Ace skins did not show the CC immunity, actually quite important. Summer bug fix Sylvanus, and now we are talking about Duel. Duel gets some changes that I really, really like. I've spoken about this in a past video, and I think it's very, very good. The respawn timers of gods in Duel are increased, meaning if you die, you're gonna get punished more. The regeneration rate of Titans is decreased. This goes for normal regeneration, regeneration when the Phoenix comes up, and regeneration when you reset aggro on the Titan. So it's no longer a Conquest Titan, basically. And this is crucial because it means that Titan sitting is going to be a lot harder, and it's going to change the whole mode, basically. I think it's a very good change. I really, really approve of that 100%. I think it's a crucial change in a way that I need to point it out on the patch notes as well, because I think this might actually, depending how strong it is in the end, it might actually change the mode completely. Then we have scaling for and opacity for the health bars, which I really, really like. I hope we can move them as well. We'll see on PTS, because in the HUD editor now would be dope as hell. Otherwise, we just work with the opacity. Updated HUD editor tool coming soon. Alright, item changes. Death Toll gets an extra mana per hit. A little more sustain, keeping up with the trends.
Awesome!
Thank you for the host. I can't see who it is right now. Really appreciate it either way. And, well, Death Toll anyways. Getting a fair bit of a buff there, mate. And then we have Cursed Gauntlet and Spike Gauntlet. And this is really interesting because with Death Toll being buffed a little bit in terms of sustain, it's more affordable, so to speak, to go into the gauntlets. So what we can expect here is maybe a Death Toll gauntlet start actually seeing a return. I'm not 100% sure if this will happen, but it could theoretically happen, and if it does, it could do some meta shift. The problem is that Devils in the end is still a relatively weak item, slow stacks, and other lifesteal items are just better. But maybe someone will find a way, especially because Curse Gauntlet, the tier 2, is also cheaper. So you can get a pot when you build this. So if you rush Curse Gauntlet, you can get a pot. But I'd rather build Death Toll into Spike Gauntlet now, to be honest, with the mana and all that. Potions. Potions are crazy. I need to drink in between because this is going to be rough. Potions are no longer starter items. Potions are available at level 7. They last for 3 minutes. And they have new stats. Sounds kind of at first, but if you hear the stats, it becomes interesting. So, Potion of Magical Might. Increases your magical power by 60. Cooldown reduction by 5. And now the most interesting part. It's basically, in a way, a mini Spear of Desolation. Hitting enemy gods with an ability returns 5% of your max mana. That's kind of, nice for sustain. And reduces the cooldown of the ability by 1 second. I'm not entirely sure which mages can make really good use of it. But I'm feeling Potion of Magical Might Habois. With a 1. You can actually spam the hell out of that, and that's going to be scary. Maybe Ao Kuang as well. Keep in mind, level 7 or higher, but I could imagine, with the risk that you're taking and all that, and the benefit you're getting out of it, I could imagine some people actually picking this up around that level as well. We will have to see. It's nothing set in stone, but it could be possible. Potion of Physical Might. This one is even more interesting, I think. Increase your physical power by 30. Penetration by 5. 5 penetration is nice, but it's not crazy, huh? It's something. Once again, 3 minutes until you're killed. Your abilities apply a 2-second damage over time and 20% slow to the first enemy god hit. Damages 25% of your physical power and takes 3 times over the 2 seconds. And that is scary. I don't know how many of you were there or remember Mannequin Scepter. Mannequin Scepter was an item on the public test server for Season 2, which basically had a similar effect, only weaker mostly, and it was scary as hell. This item, like the Potion of Physical Might in its current form, could really have an impact. The scaling is not to be underestimated. That's 75% scaling over 2 seconds. And I don't know how often this can be applied. It's on every ability. I'm not sure if it refreshes, if it stacks. I don't think it stacks, but if you have some delay between your abilities, this could be scary damage. If you get 150% scaling out of that, and you slow the enemy by 20%, this is going to be brutal on gods that have like early to mid game aggression. Thinking a Willish, for example, or Thor, or Arachne. A lot of gods actually. This could be huge. We'll see if it makes it into the actual game that way, but I imagine it could be quite scary. And with that, we're moving on to the god changes. So just a bug fix for Aphrodite here. Artemis gets some buffs though. Artemis gets basic attack power per level increased from 2.05 to 2.5. Decent number. Then attack speed increase per level from 1.4 to 1.7. So overall, she's got a very strong scaling increase. And I'm kind of irritated as to why the scaling square was touched instead of the base values. I understand that Artemis is a late game character, but her late game is already very strong. She's got no escape, which is still a problem, right? But she's got a boar, she's got a heavy steroid, she's got enough zoning to not die immediately if she positions herself right. And Blink Artemis is fun. And with this, her late game will be even stronger, but her early game is still not getting anything. And I don't know if I like that. And I don't know if that's the way to go with her. Because like this is always going to be either you snowball or you lose. Either you get to late game and you get a shot and then you have a very good shot. But until then, you're a problem child. The early scaling numbers might actually have a certain significance because it's in 2 levels is 1 extra damage roughly, but it's not that huge. Not that huge early that it would make an impact early, and I don't think her late game really needed a buff. But that's my take on it. We'll see how far she actually makes in game. She still has the same issues she had before, like no escapes, weak early, so. Bacchus, Intoxicate. Reduced duration from 8 to 6 seconds. Nerf, obvious nerf, decent nerf, needed nerf. Bacchus was very strong, and I say that as a support player that plays Bacchus a lot when I play support. I totally see the reasoning behind this, and it's not going to make him bad or anything. It's just holding on his potential a little bit, and that was needed. Same for Erlang Shen, actually. Erlang Shen gets a little buff where Celestial Dog was not proccing Stonecutting Sword. That's actually a buff because you can stack it pretty quick then. At the same time, a 9 turns Blessings gets a nerf. The healing reduction at max rank is gone down from 510 to 450, and the scaling is reduced by 5%. I can understand this because it's kind of hard to counterplay, and apparently it's got some visual fixes as well, so it's better to see. You can counterplay Erlang Shen with Weakening Curse very well, or with anti-heal in general, so it's not impossible to counterplay it now, but this is going to make it a little easier. Kind of forces him into a little bit of a more tanky build, I think, if he wants to go for all that aggression, but we'll see. Overall, I don't think he's as crazy as some people thought he was. I think maybe he's still a bit too strong, but overall okay. So far no one has found out to abuse him yet, and this will prevent that from happening. Fafnir just gets a fix. Surprised? I thought Fafnir might have been getting a nerf, but no, he gets a fix for not applying slow, so actually indirectly gets buffed. Hercules gets more bully potential early on. Earthbreaker deals up to same damage, still 260, but gets more damage early on. Like, for example, first rank, 80 damage instead of 60. Hercules already has some good bully potential early. It's more about the fact that others do too, and that you don't really bully that much early in solo at the moment. Is it going to make him crazy? I don't think so. In the right hands, he's still potent. Otherwise, he's still a second-class tutor, basically. And I don't think that's going to change with this little change. Even though it is a nice buff. Nice to have. Jing Wei is seeing multiple buffs. Bolt's mana cost reduced, meaning she can clear much better without consuming all the mana. Agility, cast time reduced from 0.2 seconds to 0 seconds, so she dashed right away. No being standing in air beforehand, basically. Little more escape capability. And then we have airstrikes channel time reduced from 1 second to 0.7 seconds. That is actually pretty quick now. If you remember how slow that wind-up was at first, it's decent now. You can actually use it to get out, and you can actually use it to damage. Hopefully, it means that the glitch with the ultimate, where it doesn't actually work and actually trigger, is also fixed, because that's, I think, much more of a problem, but yeah. And now for the most irritating patch, or change in this patch. Mercury is getting another buff, which is actually addressing his clear, which is Made You Look, which goes up to 210 damage now instead of 190 and gets an extra 10% scaling. I especially don't believe that Mercury needs any additional scalings. I don't see it, especially when he can crit with this ability, right? This is more of a late game impact than early, really. And I am still of the opinion that if you get Mercury to late game, he is extremely brutal, he's extremely scary. And I don't really see why he needs all those buffs. I see that other junglers are better at the moment, but it's rather that other junglers need nerfs than that Mercury needs buffs. And he doesn't need more late game. He really doesn't need more late game, because late game Merc will always be strong. It's the early game where he suffers. I get that. The Made You Look kind of worked in that direction, but maybe then at least revert the buffs from last patch. I see that he's probably underperforming, but that's because people have never been performing very well with Mercury on average. It's only the really good players that just get his full potential out, that completely destroy everyone. And I bet it's going to take another SPL game where he completely wrecks face until he gets nerfs again. But yeah, that's Mercury for you. Naja, just a fix. Nothing really. Ra's getting some buffs. Ra's getting some buffs that will bring him back a little more. I understand that, given he wasn't really played very much at the moment. Mana cost reduction on the Celestial Beam actually brought in line with most current abilities, I think, because it was very expensive. It was up to 110 mana, now it's up to 80, so can use that a lot more, can spam that basically. Helps him a lot. Gets also an extra 10% scaling on that, an extra 10% scaling on Divine Light, meaning if you actually get the two off, then you're pretty good. You're dealing some decent extra damage right there. Maybe like 100 extra damage or so. So, yeah. Putting him in a better place. He's not going to be OP. He still lacks mobility, and he's not a Zeus. But he's still a very good utility teamfight mage, and that will remain that way. He can heal up full teams, which is great. So overall, good buff to him. Ratatoskr. I have been expecting this. Ratatoskr did very well in recent times. Healing scaling reduced down to half, to 15%. Damage decreased on the dart from the Acorn of Yggdrasil. I think it's dart. I don't know why it says Acorn of Yggdrasil, but, well, I think it should be dart. It's down from 240 to 210, and it's minus 10% scaling. That's actually pretty huge in my opinion. I think it's nothing to scoff at, because it's gonna lower his early potential as the lower rank scalings are lowered as well. Skill potential is gonna go down significantly, and yeah, see if it works out for him. He is not gonna be as highly placed anymore, I think, because of this, because it's taken his potential down by quite a fair bit, which is interesting. We'll see if it's justifiable. And then we have a fix to Scotty, which was basically that couldn't attack while ulting. So that's good that it's fixed. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was informative. Duke Sloth, out.